Watch Strange Inheritance. Now let's unpack it. I'm Melissa Francis, and this is Strange Inheritance Unpacked. We're going to show you never-before-seen outtakes, look deeper into the mystery man, Ray Fulk, and delve into Hollywood history. So you know the story. After a hoarder dies, he leaves everything he has to two obscure actors, including the star of a TV show that only lasted 11 episodes almost 40 years ago. An absolutely incredible story. Here's one of my favorite scenes.
From the moment I opened that up and I saw Kevin's name and I was like, somebody's scamming us.
I said, Peter, I believe it. I believe it. And I'm going with it for gusto.
I took the other side of it completely going, Kevin, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
But it was true and also really weird. Let's bring in our Unpacked panel. Fox News anchor Bill Hemmer, comedian Jimmy Failla, and Fox News legal analyst Mercedes Colwin, who is up first. Mercedes, let me ask you, I can't believe the family didn't come out of the woodwork to contest the will. I mean, that was one of the craziest things to me. Did you buy that? Were you surprised by that?
Completely, because whenever there's money, everyone's rushing for it. There's like, oh, yeah, exactly. Paratroopers, come down.
I mean, he was so convinced that the family was trying to get between him and the money. I don't know. What do you think his dad was thinking? I mean, his dad left him this money. What is he rolling in his grave as he's sitting there and he's seeing him give it to two actors who he's never met? What do you think the dad would have thought of all this?
Well, I was kind of surprised. I didn't fully understand.
Yes, no one did. You're not alone in that.
Well, I thought each segment of the story took me further and further into their lives, and I found myself asking more and more questions. And that was one of them.
Here's our first never-before-seen clip with actor Kevin Brophy.
He became a fan when he was 36 years old. It's very, very crazy. He kept a poster of my program on his wall for the next 36 years until he passed away. He walked around town and he referred to himself as Lucan.
Some people would say that that's very flattering. Some would say it's a little freaky, somewhat obsessive.
Could be in this world. Ray also had access to the computer. He knew. He could have found me. He could have done anything, but I think the relationship had already been there. He knew about my family. He knew my dogs' names from the Teen Beat magazines. It's all written down there. And I think that Ray was not that man. He was harmless, but there are one letter that had directions specifically from the farm right to my house here in Los Angeles.
Wow. Cameron, you have stalkers, right? I mean, women, men, everyone. You have lots of stalkers.
Not like that.
No. Would any of you have been freaked out by this?
I hope there's a crazy person watching right now that wants to give their money to a man they saw on TV.
Yes.
I'm your guy.
Yeah, or maybe Hemmer's your guy, or I'm your gal. I love that.
No, it's
idea.
me. It's clearly me.
But there are significant moral questions.
Uh-oh, you're getting heavy with us, Hemmer.
Such as, do you take the money? Are you entitled to it? Is it yours? And why would it be yours?
It's yours because it's written in the will. There's no one that's going to come forward and contest it. It's in the will. You've got the lawyer coming forward. He was of sound mind.
What about that? I mean, was he really of sound mind? I mean, you look around the house. How did they even find that will? I mean, we're going to ask that when we talk about it a little bit later in the show, but how did they even find that will? How did they sort through the house? Then you see the pet cemetery and some of the other things and who he left it to. It seems like there's ample evidence that perhaps he was not of completely sound mind.
I totally agree. I mean, that house was scary. I can't even believe the lawyer went in and found that house.
But it smelled like Mercedes.
No, I really don't want to imagine Hemmer. I really don't.
You know what the saddest part of that was? Is they're showing the house. I'm like, wow, here in New York, that would go for $8,500 a month.
That's right. That's so true. All right, to give us a little more insight on a lot of the questions we just raised, let's grab the remote and go behind the scenes with Jonathan Towers. He's the executive producer of Strange Inheritance. Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, what was it like? First of all, I mean, talk to us about the farm. What was it like out there? How did they possibly find that will?
It took a couple of days. They finally found the will. This is a detail we didn't put in the show. It was in a shoebox. And it was in a shoebox with other random things. In other words, it wasn't organized with other tax papers or anything like that. So it took a while. The house was so filthy, it smelled so bad, they actually were wearing masks when they went through it.
Wow.
But they just had to look everywhere, and they finally just found it, as I say, in a shoebox. I mean, they had to turn the place upside down.
There was one troubling thing. In one of the photos, it looked like he was wearing a Cubs T-shirt. And who of sound mind would wear a Cubs T-shirt in public?
Mercedes, do you buy that
Come
explanation?
to Chicago.
All right. Do you buy that explanation?
Sure,
of his mental state? Does that make sense to you?
It does, only because when you find the will, it's a very simple will. He wrote it's only 2 pages. He clearly said these are the individuals who are my beneficiaries.
Jonathan, let me ask you, because I'm a huge fan of the show. I love it.
This
one is really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, did it strike you as the weirdest of them?
Well, it's interesting. We did 26 episodes for this first season. This is the only one of the 26 where the story of the inheritance is not within a family. And I think it really interested us for a number of reasons. You guys have pointed them out. There were a lot of really interesting questions, including the mystery of Ray and, who was he and what had happened to him. And, of course, the curiosity of these 2 actors. I mean, it was all just such an intriguing story.
Yeah, definitely. What did you think of the Pet Cemetery before I let you go? Your take down the Pet Cemetery.
Actually, it's very touching. I mean, so many of these stories, they make you cry. The video that Peter Barton shot, really, that's Ray. I mean, he was in very close detail, every dog with its date and its name. I mean, he cared about those dogs deeply. They were his life. And so it's actually very sad.
Oh.